All right, welcome everybody to this regular city council meeting. So glad you're here. This is a regular formal city council meeting, so the rules of decorum are in place. Please stand for the pledges. With this, I'm calling the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, please be seated. Okay, City Secretary, we have a quorum. This evening, Councilmember Eva Martinez is absent due to illness.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Proof of notice of meeting, please.
Thank you. Notice of this meeting was posted by February 14th at 2 p.m.
Great, thank you so much. Are there any public comments?
There are none.
Okay, moving on to public hearings, there are none. Presentations, recognitions, none. Proclamations, none. Community interest items, each individual city secretary will get 1 minute on the clock. Okay, 1 minute for the mayor announcements, please. Okay, I want to remind everybody that we have a city council election coming up in May for wards 1 and ward 3. Ward 3, actually, we only had one individual file to run. Unfortunately, our council member Darren Nance is not going to run again. Thank you so much for your service, Darren. And thank you for your service, Reagan. We have 3 residents interested in running for Ward 1. That would be Austin Smith, Andy Ramos, and Rich Portillo. Make sure you're registered to vote. You can go to the City of Alpine website, and there's a link there on how to check to see if you're registered and make sure you're registered. Okay. City manager.
3 items. One is currently we have the adoptions for our shelter pets at $25, which I'll explain more in our community or my update. Cowboy Poetry is this weekend. Please get out and enjoy the festivities. Hopefully it will warm up a little bit for everybody. And then our Alpine Police Department is having a blood drive February 24th and 25th. We do ask that you try to register. They will take walk-ins if there is available.
Great, thank you. All right, Councilmember Stevens.
So I have 3 quick items. One, I have a follow-up railroad bridge underpass meeting update this Thursday with TxDOT. We'll continue on with looking at what our approaches are to help make sure we don't have trucks at the railroad bridge.
Great.
This last week, I attended a workshop on quiet zones for railroads, and I'm going to continue that dialogue. Actually ended up finding some good contacts in other cities about what they've done in our quiet zones. A couple interesting statistics. There were about 5 years ago, there were 700 quiet zones covering roughly 1,200 railroad crossings. That number is now over 1,000. So the process is there. We can work it. Of course, we have 5 areas we've got to get covered, but I'll continue to keep council updated on that. The last that I have is there is a Texas railroad transportation meeting coming up. It's going to be at Fort Worth. It's in April, and I plan to participate in that. That's all I've got.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Escobedo.
I don't have anything to.
Councilmember Nance.
Just updates on the CAD, but I'll go over those more when we actually discuss the nomination process.
Councilmember Stone.
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, moving on to changes to the posted agenda. Are there any items to be continued or withdrawn?
So Mayor, the only item we have 10A and 10B in my mind are duplicative. I don't care which one comes off, but we only talk about one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I need a second to the motion to combine A and B.
Second.
Okay,
Second.
vote.
Aye. Aye.
Fine.
Aye.
Okay, City Secretary, we're going to combine items 10A and 10B because they are basically the same. Great, thank you. All right, moving on. Any items to be removed from the consent agenda for simple discussion? For separate discussion? Okay, seeing none. Action items to be added to the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none. Time sensitive items? Okay, seeing none. Moving on to the consent agenda, City Secretary.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight's consent agenda contains 4 items. Item A, approval of the February 4th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Item B, January 2025 Office of the City Secretary report. Item C, approved payment of January 2025 monthly billing summary for Workers Law Firm Services. And item D, approval of a letter of support for the 2025 Keep Texas Beautiful Affiliate Annual Recognition Gold Star.
I need-
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, let's vote.
Aye.
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 City Secretary, the consent agenda was approved unanimously with all council members voting in favor. Please remember Councilmember Martinez is absent due to illness. Moving on, there were no items removed. Reports and presentations. We'll have 6 minutes for each report. The first report, City Manager.
So the first one is a presentation by Chief James Etchison on the Alpine Volunteer Fire Department.
Please set 6 minutes on the timer, City Secretary. Hello, Chief.
How's it going?
Great, how are you?
Good, I'll give these to you, you guys can pass them around. These are
Excellent.
Our newest acquisitions,
They washed.
they're brand new, I just took out the packaging, so.
Just passed.
So the first one is gonna be the new Nomex hood. That is the new Nomex hood that's double layered to get rid of all carcinogens. That way our firefighters, hopefully cross fingers, don't get cancer. And the second one is, we talked about it earlier on with, I believe it was TxDOT about safety helmets for our firefighters, and their safety is my utmost importance. So all of my individuals that graduated from the Tech 1 school have red helmets, and Tech 2 have black helmets. We had 6 people graduate the Tech 2, which is heavy machinery, as diesel trucks, stuff like that, that get in crashes. They'll cut them out of the vehicles, do what they need to, and they have the black helmets, and those are MSA, NFPA approved helmets. So those are our newest acquisitions to our repertoire of stuff. Want to get those out of the way, that way you guys can pass and look through them and wear them if you want to.
Are those helmets like the ones that they presented at that meeting or similar to it?
Similar to it, these ones got a little bit more safety features to it, which is good for us. It's got a little whistle on it, so in case my guys get lost wandering out in the woods, they can blow the whistle, we can find them.
That's
But
great.
but the cool thing about those helmets is they're adjustable and it comes with the visor. So the visor coming down actually covers your entire face. So it doesn't obstruct like wearing glasses. So when you lean forward, they don't fall off or get in the way or anything like that. The goggles are actually flush with your face. So it's a lot easier to get into tight spaces and not have to worry about bumping it.
Good,
So it's
very good.
it's really good little combination. Another acquisition we got were new SCBA systems, were the new backpacks. Now, we were going to buy the pass alarms, which you hang on your body, and before you go into a building, you pull the tab, hand it to somebody, and then go into a building. However, 23 of those cost about $43,000, something like that. So instead of buying that, we bought new SCBA packs that have built-in pass alarms. So we have 13 new packs, which not only have the pass alarm built in, so if you go into a building, of course, you're gonna wear a pack that has air connected to it. So that way we know who's in there has a pass alarm. But also on those packs, there's also something called the pack tracker. A pack tracker is if in case a individual goes down and the alarm goes off, we have a remote that'll ping us to where that individual's at. So it could be complete darkness and we can actually trace where they're at and make search time condensed by at least 5 minutes in searching a building. So that was the newest addition to our packs because we needed something that would definitely do a lot better. We've got good news on engine 2. The cracked tank on engine 2, that's been cracked for, I don't know how long it's been cracked. However, we did find out that the tank does have a lifetime warranty. So we're working with Siddons Martin right now to try to get the vehicle down to Siddons Martin Odessa to have the tank replaced. I'd rather spend $2,000 on getting it replaced and the labor than spending $50,000 on getting a brand new poly tank for that engine. So hopefully we'll get that up and running. It is running, it just doesn't, it's a great parade vehicle right now. We have a grant that was approved for an extractor for our gear, so we can wash our gear and get all the carcinogens out of the gear. It's specifically designed for this, so we're looking forward to putting that into use. Come mid-March, we're gonna have 6 more people certified as firefighter 1, which will bring our numbers up to 10 certified firefighters. And then they're gonna continue on their education to become firefighter 2. So they're gonna continue on and they'll be fully graduated hopefully by June, beginning of May. We just recently got a new grant approved by the Rio Grande Council of Governments for new radios. We have 18 new radios coming in, which is great because it's a lot of money that we simply did not have. Even with our great budget, we still have nowhere near that budget for radios. So they were nice enough to grant us new radios for that. I know I have a short period of time. I haven't seen you guys in 3 months. I do have 3 months of reports, but I'm just gonna go over basically just the calls. If you guys are interested in any specifics, ask me and I'll let you know some of these specifics. So for the end of the year, going on to the first month of this year, structure fires, we had 12, wildland fires, we had 24, vehicle fires, we had 3, other fires such as dumpster fires or barbecue pits, we had 13, false alarms, we had 3, EMS assist or lift assist, we had 47, controlled burns, we had 1, we had 1 search and rescue. We were requested twice for mutual aid, and we provided mutual aid for 1. We got called off on the other ones. Extrication, we had 9 extrication for motor vehicle accidents, and hazmats, we had 10 hazmat spills.
Y'all been busy.
Yeah, just a little bit. That is pretty much it, unless you want to go into specifics on calls. We are now up to 200 alarms installed throughout Alpine for smoke detectors. And we're still going strong. We're going on our 3rd order smoke detectors. So we're killing it when it comes to it.
Good. I've
Good
heard the
spoken.
commercial or advertisement, I guess, on the radio. That's very good.
Thank you.
All right, and we have time for council member questions. Councilmember Stone.
Thank you, Mayor. First, big compliment. I love how you're running the reports by saying this is how we're growing. Obviously bringing show and tell is super fun too. And then you talk about the normal things of like, this is what we've been up to, but I love how you're opening up with, you know, the new equipment and the repairs and maintenance as well. That's different from last year when someone else was here. And so I appreciate you doing that. The only thing I'd add is, our question, and I don't want to take up too much time, on hazmat. Is there any of those that the city, or rather, I guess the community needs to know about, or how we would respond if there was something bigger there?
No, sure. So for anything that's huge, which is 20 gallons or more,
Okay.
is where we would have to call in specialists. We haven't had anything that big.
Yeah.
Nothing that big has transpired here. Most of our hazmat spills are the tourists that come in and don't realize that the stripes is at the backflow. So the gas pump just keeps running and running and running and they're sitting in their car. However, I don't know if anybody, I can't remember if any of y'all came to the demonstration for the F500 foam.
Yep.
So the F500 foam is an encapsulating agent. So we've been using that on the hazmat spills.
Sure.
So we'll spray that and it actually eats away the enzymes and all the bad stuff. So when it does wash down the drain, it's not going to contaminate anything that's EPA safe and approved. So we've been using that on a lot of our stuff. And also, a caveat to that is we had a train not accident, but a train caught fire in Marathon. And we got called out for mutual aid because we had the F500 foam. They had a hard time putting that fire out because of all the different chemicals that were in that train. Within 15 minutes, we had that fire out with the F500 foam. And even though we've been using a lot of it, we've only used maybe a gallon of a 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah.
So the stuff goes a long ways.
That's really neat to hear. That's cool. And my head went straight towards train when I heard hazmat. And so it's cool to hear that there's actually other stuff, much more minor things than I'm sure a train accident. But
Right.
again, appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Councilmember Nance.
I just have one question. So that helmet, that's the new fireman's helmet?
No. That's just for extrication.
Oh, okay.
Extrication, basically getting people out of vehicles and on the side of the road.
Gotcha.
So that way we can, because the fire helmets, and it made sense when we sat through the demonstration, when the fire helmets were on, they're big, they're bulky, they're wide, didn't have the range of motion. It's just like you have another layer of scalp.
Sure.
But it's a little bit more tough.
Only other 2 things I had was the encapsulating foam. I'm glad somebody around here knows all that stuff. So God bless. It's great to have an expert on that kind of stuff. And then on the management side, sounds like you're doing a great job with the money.
I got a great crew, so if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be here.
Great report.
Thank you.
Councilmember Escobedo?
No questions. You're doing a great job. Your report and everything you're telling us is excellent.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stevens?
So just, thanks again, as always, James. The plane's out. So how long do we expect the planes to be here? Fire planes, they're at the airport.
Are they at the airport? I have not been told yet.
Landed Sunday at midnight, they were there.
I'm surprised I didn't get a call yet. I will find out tomorrow more information.
Yeah, I'm curious, yeah.
I heard they're coming out. I just didn't get a call when they're coming out.
They're on the ground, they got their tanker truck.
Huh?
and everything else.
They're gonna be leaving already?
Oh, they're heading out already?
Okay. Okay.
So why'd they come in, Abel?
Just stand by, they were told to come down here.
They were told to come here.
Yeah,
For a day.
they came down and. um,
That's probably why they didn't call me. We did have TFS out here with the big trucks. I think everybody saw the big trucks driving around town.
Yeah.
They were here for a week and then they took off to Big Spring, so it's I foresee them coming back because we're getting the cold weather months now.
Yeah.
And after the cold weather, it's going to start killing everything again. And the reason why I reestablished the burn ban again as EMC was we had a fire on 118. And it was a guy that had a trailer that didn't realize he lost the rubber on his rims. So he was going down the road, starting fires the entire way down.
Oh, my God.
However, it was 11 degrees outside. We had a slight breeze and it was 1 degree with the wind chill and that fire was raging.
Yeah.
So even with weather and precipitation, burn ban's still heavily in effect just because everything is dry and dead. So we need to keep it going.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thanks a
Keep
lot.
up the great work.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Grab my helmet.
Yes. I'm gonna keep it.
Oh, I'll get you one.
Okay, next report and presentation, city manager.
The next one is the utility software presentation by Carmen Rodriguez. She's our customer clerk supervisor and she's put in a lot of time. I would like to ask that council do extend it past 10 minutes. It is a lot of information in about year and a half worth of work gathering to make the switch in direction with the new utility software. And I know it has to be by motion, second, and approval to extend past the 10.
I need a motion.
So moved.
I need a second.
No second.
Vote.
Hi.
I,
Aye.
Okay, we'll extend past the 10 minutes for this very important presentation. We've been waiting for this for a long time.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Carmen,
welcome.
for everybody that doesn't know.
2 seconds, Carmen, let him.
Oh,
do the
sorry.
presentation Up there. Just
Getting
so
ahead of
everyone knows what
myself.
We're talking about.
No pressure, Abel. We're waiting on you.
right?
goes up there, but it's,
So while he's looking,
Yeah.
I presume this is all about making your life better and everyone else's lives better.
Absolutely.
And the
One less
residents,
headache.
right? And the residents, yes.
Absolutely, yes. We've been, like Megan mentioned, we've been working for about a year and a half. Trying to get this running. As you guys know, you guys probably have heard from our citizens or neighbors.
A lot, yes.
We urgently need something that works better. What we currently have is just no longer sufficing, no longer acceptable. It doesn't meet our expectations.
Good.
That's the main thing. We're unable to do our job fully without, having a good software is just
Right, yeah.
another bump
Yep.
on the road.
And I'm guessing it will work with the smart meters.
Yes, so that's another big thing that we had actually Megan confirmed. Well, she's in the look for smart meters for also making our lives a lot easier.
Right.
She did find out that the recommendation that I'm gonna present to you guys today does work along with them, so it will be another plus.
Great.
So,
Okay, well, you're up, so go ahead.
we can go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So, For this process, I've demoed over 11 companies, different companies throughout Texas, outside of Texas, just whatever gave us some time to see what was out there. We went ahead and demoed them. For this specific project, I did 11. I've actually done over 15 before we actually started this process. So it's a lot of information crammed to my little head.
Thank you for that.
No, thank you guys. We can go to the next one, please. So, Southern Software, I'm gonna just summarize them basically, because there are a lot of them are very similar, except our top 5. So a lot of them include, text messages, phone calls. They include, online payments, our online portal. I don't know how many of you guys have access or have registered your guys' accounts online. It's very basic. We have to register, verify your account, and then you're able to view or pay your account online. One of the bad things about our online portal right now is that a lot of our customers are getting stuck. They're getting error messages. They're unable to reset their passwords. They're unable to pay, or when they pay, they get an error message, or their account doesn't reflect the payments gone through, or their payment gets stuck. When we've asked our current software why this happens, well, we don't know. That's not an answer I can give our customers of, I don't know. Unfortunately, that's a very common answer from them. And it's one of our main headaches, just because I can't just tell a customer, hey, I don't know where your payment went. I don't know why the portal's not working. I don't know why you can't view your payment. We had a couple of months where we went through where you can't even see your bills online. And we had customers that were very upset because it's comfortable to go online, check whatever your bill is, and pay it. Or if you don't want to pay, you drop it in our Dropbox, come in our office, make a phone call. Easy. But we weren't able to facilitate that for them. So that made them frustrated. We've been frustrated along this process. Councilmember Nance sent to me a couple of questions that he wanted to answer, and I'm more than ready to answer for him. As I mentioned before, one of our main pain points is no accountability. That's the main thing. When something happens, such as double posting, when their payments went on there twice, when they've only made one payment, we've asked them, hey, what's going on? Why is this happening? How can we prevent it? Well, it's you guys' fault. Well, I can't tell you. So how do we fix it? Well, we don't know. So we put in policies and procedures to kind of cover ourselves to make sure we're following the same procedures, same process, that nothing has changed, just to avoid this. And it made a difference. And then we went back to double posting. Or we went back to, you guys have received errors, which we've never seen in our software. And that's why you guys are getting the double posting. So we've also experienced where we've locked ourselves out. So after a certain amount of time, the software automatically locks you out. Everybody, nobody has access to them. Well, it takes them hours to respond to our call in order for them to unlock us. That means that right at 8 o'clock, we're not able to service our customers. We're not able to answer those phone calls and tell you, oh yeah, this is how much your bill is, because we're locked out. We have to give them some paper receipt because we can give them an official receipt because we're locked out. Another of his points is our complaints. What are our major complaints from the public when they're paying their bills? There's a lot of inaccurate information whenever on your bill where it says previous balance, payments and credits. We went through another period where those payments and credits were not reflecting what they had previously paid. So that was another big issue that we were presenting. Our customers were like, well, I paid my bill last time. How come it's not reflecting on their payments and credits? We went over them. We showed them a transaction report. Here is your payment. Unfortunately, our software is working on it. They haven't really fixed it. We still encounter some payments, credits that don't reflect correctly on their bills. Another question or that he had presented was our price range between those 11 to 15 software programs that I had demoed, and they're all ranged between 25,000 and 40,000. So it's kind of pricey. We currently pay around 9,000 if I'm not mistaken.
It's two different ones, so we currently pay about 19 to 20,000.
Okay.
And that's without, well, we've had to make a couple upgrades.
Mhm. So, yeah, because our data had run out or we
We didn't have enough space.
yeah, there you go. Sorry.
That's why we were getting errors, because we didn't have enough space. And they weren't gonna be able to transition us to a bigger server
Mhm.
until we corrected the errors, but then they transitioned us and we didn't have errors. So we
Oh,
get,
So sorry.
Yes.
we get a little confused as to what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, let's not forget that we have corrupted data, but at the same time, we don't have corrupted data. So that's another good one. So like she said, we're about 20,000. These all range between 25 and 40. So it's kind of little more than we've expected. But what we've seen is a lot better. Any of these software companies are way better than what we currently have at this point. I know, one of the other question was mass notification systems. Right now, there's no way for us to send a mass text, mass phone call, mass email to none of our residents. We know how many water leaks we've encountered, sewer backups where that's affected, not just one block, but a major part of our city. So there was no way for us to communicate other than Facebook or by word of mouth. So with this systems, any of these systems is capable of sending mass notifications, phone calls, text messages, emails. They're even able to pay via phone call, via text message. They'll take them to the link for the online portal. So give them more options, more availability for them to go in there, or more comfort for them to go and register online or pay online by phone, text message, on our emails. He had also pointed out about our bank drafting. CUSI is our recommendation out of all these software companies. And they offer to do their bank drafting online. That's something we currently don't offer to our customers. And they also offer recurring payments. That's another thing. We know we have a lot of teachers that they only get paid once a month and they get paid right when we're doing the disconnects. So we run into a lot of issues where they're unable to come and make a payment because they don't get paid till 2 days later, right after we do the disconnects. Recurrent payments will facilitate for them to actually be able to make a payment without running the risk of getting disconnected or adding more fees to their bill, which is, more.
That's a
comfortable
question
for
I
them.
have for you.
Mhm.
So let's talk about the software that you recommend, the CUSI.
Mhm.
So what would the fees be for customers that are doing the automatic drafts and the recurrent payments?
There wouldn't be any fees for the
Yeah.
ACH drafts.
Okay,
On the recurrent payments, I don't have an answer for you on that one, but I will for sure get back to you on that.
okay.
So on this one currently that we're using, does everyone use it up here? Or- okay.
I do,
No.
ACH, I don't pay anything,
Yeah.
it's whatever the bill is.
Okay, and this is electric, or not electric, I'm sorry, water and gas.
Water, gas, sewer.
Yeah, I type in like a credit card and I get a convenience fee. Is
Yes,
that a
that's what I'm
different
asking
thing?
about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the convenience
Yeah.
fee is set by.
The company.
Credit card.
Yeah, I get it, I'm just.
We
wondering
get
what it is.
none of that money.
Yeah,
There, yeah, I just wanted to correct, cause I thought that's what you were
And I
asking.
think
for.
it can be no more than 5%. I
Yeah.
think there's a
It was
3 or
around-
3.5.
I believe, yeah, it's around 3. if I'm
Yeah.
not-
So it's higher than what I think the one that we're currently have.
Well, the one we have is the convenience fee plus a random it's a percentage
Mhm.
of your bill.
Okay,
So this one should come out to be a little bit less because you're not paying the 3% plus the 1% of what you're actually paying.
okay.
It's,
There has to be something out there, I mean, to make money to have this company, right?
yeah.
And that's all tied back to the credit card side.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
if you do the ACH where it's just drafted from your account.
I don't care.
Good to know, I didn't know that.
Yeah, ACHs are always free.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Going a little bit to the card readers, how you had mentioned about having like payments through cards. Another big complaint that we've had is customers when they come in, everybody uses their debit card, credit card. They
Right.
come in, they want to pay it. And we're like, sorry, we only take cash money or checks. You
Yeah.
can go across the street, get money order with your card, there's an ATM over here. Well, they don't want to go and get that. They're here, they want to get it over with, move on. Well, we offer them, okay, well, would you like to register online and pay it online? But it's a long process. So with CUSI, they would provide card readers for our office
Good.
through them, for them to be able to come in, make a payment with their card, they're done, move on, we'll see you next month.
Good.
So that's a,
Type that in, over the phone too, or is that?
yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe through their phone calls, they'll be able to pay it like that as well. So that's another thing that we would be able to offer our customers, you know, make them more comfortable, be able to, you know, if they want to come in and use their card, they can use their card. They don't have to run to the post office, get a money order, run back, or go to the ATM. So that was another plus that we had seen for CUSI. They all offer them, but they don't all offer the card readers. So a lot of them, we were gonna have to buy them, outsource them. I know another major thing is our scanning of documents into our software. We currently, USDI doesn't currently is able to do that. We tried it at one point, we didn't succeed. Because you had to store it onto the cloud and then from there, download it onto the account. So it's a long process. CUSI provides us the ability to actually scan and store those documents onto their accounts. Right now, our filing system is not that great due to our turnover. A lot of them don't file the paper correctly. So this would give us the chance that, you know, we need to look up their application, their driver's license. We can easily pick it up from our system. That's something that we're not able to do right now. So that would be a nice feature for everybody to have access to. Just whenever somebody comes up, you're like, oh, let's verify it is this person. We can by just pulling up their driver's license. I know you had asked about financial software, like how it would tie in or integrated, how much easier that would be. It would be a great thing if CUSI had a financial software. That way we wouldn't have to
Change it to
To-
USI.
to outsource another software. It would make things a lot easier. However, CUSI is willing to work with whatever software company, financial software company we decide to go with. They're able to do CSV exports and API exports as well. And if that doesn't work, they're willing to try with whoever we go with to make it work for us. Because they have the experience. They've actually had a couple of USDI customers that have actually gone with CUSI. So they already know how this process is. They already been through this before, so they're willing to work with us. So that's something very nice of them that they're willing to do.
Where are they located?
They are located,
It's Jonesboro, Arkansas.
yes,
Are they willing to come here and work with the team?
they are, we're willing to pay for the expenses. I know with like the training, that was a big issue as well, like how would our training be now that they're not here? They do have bi-monthly seminars for training. They have an online portal basically for training. They're willing to walk us through through all the way to Z through a phone call as well, or hop out on Zoom. They're very lenient on that.
Did you find it user friendly when you were walking through their software?
I did. Compared to other ones, there was one that had 4 screens. So you were looking at 4 tabs at once. And they're like, yeah, it's really easy to work. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure where I'm looking at. So I think this is very easy, very user friendly. Our team also demoed it as our top 5, and they all agreed that it was very easy or seemed very to the point. So
Was it unanimous that everybody chose CUSI as the top one?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Another great thing that they do offer on their online portal, going a little bit back, they offer graphs. I know a lot of people are visual learners, and when you start throwing at them meter readings, it gets very confusing. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? So on their online portal, they're able to go online and see a graph of 12 months worth of their consumption. So if on July they're using 25,000 gallons and in December they're using 2, that would be a normal consumption. July, it's hotter, December is colder, they're not using as much water. They also have another widget where it actually compares your current year and last year's consumption so that they can see, so they don't get alarmed whenever they jump from 2,000 all the way to 12,000 gallons. And they can, you know, be like, rule out that they don't have a water leak, that's what they usually use based off last year. So that kind of puts them at ease, and they can do the graphs for the water and for the gas as well. So not only just for one utility.
Mhm.
So that was very neat that no other company that's up there had offered. None of them are offering
And
that.
that's for your customers, right?
Mhm.
That would help them see what you're trying to explain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or how else would you use that internally in any way, I guess? I mean, I can understand on a system as a broad, like the manager making big decisions, but
Mhm.
would you use that any other way? I'm just,
We could, just to kind of research how much our consumption, I know at one point one of our reports was like our top 10 consumption, water consumption. So we could use it in any report basically. And yeah, I mean, that would be, like I said, nobody else has seen a graph before. And when you're explaining to them a transaction report, you're just highlighting numbers and consumption, and that kind of doesn't really
Yeah.
show them anything. So maybe a graph would be a lot easier or better for them to even understand their consumption. Any questions that you might have for me so far?
Councilmember Stevens?
The only other question I would have asked is on security
Mhm.
and data system security, but I was looking up on their website while you're talking. I got all my questions answered, so thank you.
Of course.
Okay. Councilmember Escobedo?
No, some of the things that you were pointing out as far as like errors and stuff like that, I've seen in another software. Except the one that I've seen, they are an easier and quicker fix,
Mhm.
but the same ones that you pointed out.
Yeah.
Councilmember Nance, did she answer all your questions you sent her?
I always have questions. Quick question.
Yeah.
These top five companies, these are the top five that you and your department would recommend?
Yes, but I had demoed all of them, and then from those I narrowed down to what kind of feed our needs. So those were the top 5 that we had picked, or that I had picked.
Do we have pricing on these five to kind of compare so we know the different pricing on CUSI compared to Smart Fusion, UniLink, all these others?
Yes, not with me, but yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Off the top of your head, which are the most expensive out of these? Can you just kind of say most expensive to least expensive?
Off the top of my head, probably not, because I haven't seen this number since December, because we demoed our top 5 in December. And then from there, that's when we made our decision on December 17th. So off the top of my head, I probably won't be able to tell you. I know CUSI is one of the ones that are up there though.
Do we have references for CUSI? Anyone
Yes.
that's reached any
Yes.
local cities in Texas?
Yes, we have 3, and I had conversations with all 3 of them, and they had nothing but wonderful things to say. And one of them actually had a USDI before they transitioned to CUSI.
And USTI is assist. I'm not crazy, right?
It's Assist, USTI, Central Square. It's been bought out and purchased about half a dozen times.
So it looks like you're judging by the support you received, they're trying to kick people off that product and get them to a new one.
If they
Awesome.
had a new one,
Oh, they don't have a new one. I assume they had something newer.
not that we're aware of,
Oh.
they have not offered anything.
Yeah.
They've just kind of, we go back and forth.
The one question I had too, and I had mentioned this one, is the integration with the financial software. Megan's already said we've got aged financial software on a lot of different things. 2 years ago, we mentioned about moving over those, and I said, don't pull the rug out everything at one time. The 2 that I would think might make sense would be finance and utility billing, because it seems like both of those have been complaints to both those departments for a while. Did any of these demos actually show you the utility, pardon the time, guys? Utility of the integrations for having that? Why does 1 + 1 = 3 if you have the financial software and utility billing software together?
I know FundView was one of the ones that they had offered, or they had said, if you want FundView, you have to get the financial part of it. What we kind of based our decision on, FundView is a really good program as well, but it was the level of stuff that we can provide our customers. Like I said, they don't have graphs, they're unable to do their banking online. I believe they weren't able to do the mass emails or phone calls. One of those was a part of it. And we shifted more to the CUSI offered a lot more things than FundView. We want to make sure we were able to offer or be at least at the top of things that we're able to offer our customers. I think we've not given them the level of things, facility for them. We're in 2025 and we're unable to take a credit card payment here. I think we're really behind, and this will kind of put us up to date with, technology. So that's why we linked it more with CUSI.
And I'd ask Megan too, because you've probably seen both sides of this, being on the financial side. The utility payments are made through the utility billing software. How are they brought into the financial software?
So they're deposited every day. We match their reports. We deposit it into the financial software. And then at the end of the month, we get a monthly billing that gets posted towards the accounts, clears out the accounts receivable side. When he asked multiple times with CUSI about, and I know everybody wants to know, well, what specific software do you integrate with? CUSI provided a list of different, I guess, the back end side of the software that they can integrate with. And so instead of saying, well, we can integrate with FundView, which we know they can, or Kyler or Hill Country, like specific software, they provided the back end information. So when we go out for financial software, we just need to say, you must be able to integrate with one of these steps.
So if we go with CUSI, then we're limiting ourselves to some degree with what our next software is, our financial software. If you went with FundView, you're absolutely limiting yourself because it only works with FundView. So they do integrate. And then when y'all are reconciling those accounts from utility billing over to the financial software, is that being done by hand now, or do y'all do CSV imports, or?
So it's all being done by hand, which is where we've had the issues. Is she'll run a report, or we'll take the payments, everything gets posted, but then at the end, it's not lining up. And that's when we started learning about double payments, but they're not coming out on your report, or auto system generated adjustments when
Yes.
accounts that we didn't know were happening that don't come out on a report. When working back with the auditors, it was very obvious, we printed 6 different reports with 5 different end numbers because it's pulling odd directions. When we went to the USTI, the whole process of it was the gas department had been on it, prior. And so we were supposed to be able to integrate the water and the gas. But then when we tried to do that, I think at the time it was USTI, well, you can't integrate them because there's no connecting factors. And then, well, you have the GL for one, but you don't have it for the other. So it just became more and more of, why did we go with that software? On the finance side, as long as that integration piece comes in, it would literally be what we did with the Deering software prior to 2017, where you would just download the files and it would plug them in based off of where you're telling the money to go.
Yeah, the one thing I don't want to do is download a CSV every day and import a CSV every day, because that's just a technical thing. Like, I love the word API when I hear that, because then that's all happening automatically. Or integrated software between the financial software and the utility billing side, because they're already talking to each other because they're all on the same side.
Right.
Because it sounds like when you're getting bad support, we pull those utility billing in, we run it through a human, so there's ability for human error to occur. And then now they're saying you're doing it wrong and we're saying they're doing it wrong. So to really remove that middle person of that. So that's why the one thing I really think would be important in this, the 2 things I'm most focused on is price, so that your value is, and then the financial software and the integration on that.
Going a little back on that question regarding we had contact any people, we had actually talked to Maxwell SUD and also WSD, and we also spoke to the city of Lexington.
Lexington, Texas.
Yes.
And El Oso is USD?
WSC.
WSC,
Maxwell is SUD.
Utility District.
Mhm.
And SWC, what is that? Water?
Water utilities.
Okay. That's all questions.
Councilmember Stone?
Alrighty, y'all did exactly what I thought y'all do. I thought Councilmember Stevens was gonna ask about price, but I'm gonna ask one more time. Is the one that we're picking, what's the increase in price from what we have on the current software?
About 15,000.
15,000?
It's about
that-
34, 640, 34,
Is that a
34 plus.
10% increase, 20% increase?
Off the top of my head. Yeah, because it was around 32.
You're at 20 and it goes to 35, and then
Yeah, you're wrong.
35.
60% increase.
I mean, it seems like a pretty big, yeah, I guess I'd be concerned on that too, unless we're bringing we're getting a lot more out of this, and I can see some of the things. To go through the list as quick as I can as we figure that out, because I think that's something other members might want to know as well. I was gonna ask, and I don't know as much as Mr. Nance, but are y'all planning to bring the old software, the old CSV files into the new stuff? Are we gonna hurt ourselves by putting bad data or potentially duplicates or other things into the new stuff? Or are we gonna start on day one and go forward and just have an old CSV that we can go look up the 500 delinquent things from the previous month? Does that make sense?
So it does, we would have to pull over some of the data. You're looking at around 4,000 accounts between water and gas, and to manually input those in to start day one and move forward.
Yeah.
Isn't feasible.
Yeah.
Especially with staffing. So we would have to pull over the data, but we would pull it over, we wouldn't pull over all of the historic data most likely. We would just pull over, okay, day one, this is what we want, and then we go move forward. When we transitioned from the During software to the USTI software, we had to do it twice, and it was a living nightmare. Typically, we tried to mirror what you did in one, you did in the other, so that you kind of had a backup.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it went south, and we actually brought in employees to spend weekends putting all the data back into the old software so we could do billing.
Yeah.
So
So you ended up not using it even probably on its first debut.
oh, no.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're kind of prepared for all of these.
Yeah.
What ifs, because we've had it happen before.
And I get you gotta have that step, and then I think you're exactly right. That would be my view too. Don't bring as much data, only bring as much data as you need, right? At the same time, then my thought goes is everybody sees 12 months back, if not years back on their current portal, and they're gonna say, well, my bill's higher than it was last month and stuff like that. So I'm also thinking ahead of how to prepare for something
And
like
that's
that.
understanding, and if once a decision's made, what can we transition to the new
Yeah.
software? Can we transition just certain groups of data?
Yeah.
Like the meter reads.
Yeah.
Maybe we just want to pull that over with the account name. From the financial standpoint, maybe we don't want to pull over all of the financial, but we just want the starting balance of where the account is.
Yeah.
On that date.
Okay,
And the other thing to take into consideration, we know there's gonna be hiccups.
Yeah.
And then working back with the software company in regards to, okay, how do we tie gas and water so that we have one bill and it's not two separate bills
okay,
and during this whole process, and this is what council probably also needs to take into consideration, we've paid for this year's USTI. So we're, 4.5 months in. If we're not gonna continue with USTI and we're gonna purchase a new software, but we still wanna have access to the old USTI data, then we have to continue to pay for that software. Because what they'll give us is a data dump that we may not be able to pull up and be able to say, okay, what am I looking at?
sure, yeah,
And so timing of it is making the transition midstream,
Yeah.
but not going 100% live until maybe October 1st. So the whole time we're kind of doing cleanup, we're working, we're moving it forward.
yeah,
Maybe we're still using USTI to get the billing out there, but we're making sure it's mirroring what CUSI has at the same time.
ooh. Yeah.
It's not a little.
Yeah.
undertaking.
No, I get you. And so this is me on my customer service side too, is I was ask you the question about taking credit cards on the phone.
Mhm.
And that presented 10 problems to me right as I said it. Also, the same thing is saying, maybe you don't want to do that because then has the ability to write down credit card numbers that are in the office that we don't want that info sitting on anybody's desk. And two, this, I think you ought to make it the easiest that you can for your staff as well as our customers. So saying the staff answers, they're already taking 5 minutes answering or typing in one credit card and they have to do it twice or whatever it turns out to be. So you just do it online, you drop it in here, or you can walk inside and do it. And that way there's a person to person or just a drop off contact.
Correct me if I'm wrong for the phone call.
It would be an automated.
It's
call.
an automated
an
system.
automated
They
system.
put in
Type
the
it in.
information,
Yes.
not us.
That's
Yeah,
different.
so it wouldn't
That's
be
cool.
us
Okay,
getting.
So
any
that
part-
3 a.m. I forgot to pay my bill, they
Yeah.
can call
Yes.
and.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's really cool. And the only other thing I have on is, well, the mass notify, the city doesn't have that in any other way. We have Brewster County that has one right now that you
So
can sign
we
up.
utilize Brewster counties when
Yeah.
we have a mass emergency. We've looked at it with our website as far as being able for people to register to receive notices for emergencies.
Yeah.
And the reason why they really like this is about 2 years ago, they started a process that I won't let them quit, where they call every delinquent account holder.
Uh-huh.
And so this would
You get a list on your dashboard.
It
and
would
just
automatically
does
send it for them,
Cool.
but then we could utilize it, when we have the concerns with water or.
Yeah.
You know, we are aware that there's a water leak on the DEA building, please.
Yep. Yeah, and you could probably, I'm guessing that gets geolocating a little bit.
He did mention that.
Yes, so we
So
can
part of
attach,
So we
yeah,
can
we can
let-
attach GIS notes on there as well. And then another cool thing with the mass notification, it would also actually give us a report and it'll tell us whether they answer the call, if
Yeah.
they send it a voicemail, if they answer the text or not. So it
You
kinda-
might get a list of 5 later that maybe
Yeah.
you do need to call these people. and-
Yes.
But that's easier than 100.
Or the, I never got your phone call.
Yes,
Yeah.
because that's another
Cool.
very common one.
The only other thing that I heard you mention a little bit, especially in regards to teachers, which I think that's a very good example, especially with our state employees, 1 month pay. Is something I think that's brought up more and more of like, that it theoretically, even though I don't know if there's a penalty or not, but it becomes late on like the 11th or 12th, or maybe it's the 15th. Is there a way that we could move that back to,
That
I
is
don't know,
set by,
the 18th?
that's set by ordinance.
Yeah, yeah.
On the water side, there is not a penalty for being late. On the gas side, there is a penalty for being
Sure.
late.
Okay,
And one of the ordinances that we have tried really hard to clean up is the utility ordinance, so that they have the same. So your gas and water would have to be done at the same time, because if we're gonna try to do the one billing, you don't want the deadline for gas with a penalty the 15th and the water not have the same deadline if I'm getting one bill.
Yeah.
So, and then the other part of that ordinance that we're trying to incorporate a lot of the customer service side and who's responsible for.
yeah. And so my head works to where, because I'm a bi-monthly, and the mayor can tell us if it's the 30th or the 1st that teachers typically get paid.
Gosh, I don't remember.
It's the 25th.
I think it's,
25th,
yeah,
So it's, okay,
thank you.
so that's really helpful. So
Yeah.
is there something to where we could? I don't want to make it free water for a week or something, but we could turn this to where, you know, I typically pay, I'm paying bill by bill, you know? Typically pay it on the 16th, or I need to pay it right now, but the point being is I don't have the money until the 15th typically. Cause I
So
pay
We would
mortgage on the
change
first,
the,
you
the
know?
ordinance to
Yeah,
reflect that.
yeah.
The only thing we need to take into consideration is we do have where if you don't pay, we cut you off.
Yep.
That is
Yeah,
pretty much a norm for
I
all
get
the
it.
cities. But we have to have enough time between when we cut them off to get all of the paperwork completed, to get the
Yeah.
billing completed, to be able to go into the next month.
yeah. So I don't know, I'm throwing out numbers here. I guess it's on recording, but if it, you know, bills went out as they do on, is it the 11th or something? It's real
They go out
random.
at the beginning of the
The
month.
beginning of the month. So then theoretically, they become due, I don't know, on the 16th or something, and then we give a 10-day grace period, or the 26th, as the 25th is when teachers, we think, get paid. We want to check all this, but you know, something that we can work with people so that they have some grace period, especially if we're gonna start potentially having, you know, fees and different things added on. if
Oh,
people can't
definitely,
wait.
and that's one of the things we've talked about. I know Carmen's mentioned it, the residents mentioned it.
Yeah.
It is currently set by ordinance. It is a frustration for our residents. I know I dealt with one on Friday. He paid it on the 11th, but we are generating those late notices on the 11th.
Yep.
And so it's like, but wait a minute, I paid it. So
I get one every month, and I think I brought that up at least before, because I don't pay until the 15th or 16th typically. And so I already get one in my mailbox, and I feel like we could save the city, you know, 56 or 8 cents times a lot by doing something like that as well. So I think it could save dollars as well. Thanks, Karen, for a little longer.
All right, anything else?
The comment I'd make is if we go to combining gas and our water, we're gonna probably save $15,000 in postage a year.
That is also the plan.
Yes.
Not only would we save on postage, but we'd also save on office supplies as far as envelopes, as far
Yes.
as.
Yeah.
And like I said, the transition midstream is kind of the benefit because like right now, everyone's gotten used to blue envelopes as water. If we change it up again, we want to make sure we give them enough time that, hey, your envelope is gonna be a certain color, but is it gonna include both? But it's also working back with the company that we choose to make sure, how do we integrate the two?
Yeah.
And they may be able to say, okay, well, there's certain things that we can combine. We just learned the hard way, customer names don't always match, service addresses don't always match. We know routes don't match, so it's gonna be a little bit of a process, but we don't want to lose access to what we currently have either.
Yeah, I think with what you said, the cost savings there, and if we research the teacher, the bi-monthly payment, maybe even social security, see what day that is. If we could make that line up a little better with a grace period, I think we could easily, like you said, save quite a bit of money and pay for it. Yeah.
And then that would cover the additional data as well.
That's my view.
Mhm.
Got a couple other questions, Carmen, sorry. Real quick, what was your opinion of FundView?
They are a really good software company. Like I said, based on comparing both of them, between CUSI and FundView, it was clearly, CUSI is more customer service guided or leaning towards, and that's kind of where we're leaning to. So that's kind of why we didn't go for FundView, and it didn't seem very user friendly. Like a little more steps to get to one spot.
When you say user friendly, is that user friendly for the employee or the client?
For just the software itself, not the online portal, it would be just for us. It wasn't as user friendly.
So more difficult for you and your department.
Yes.
Okay, do we know the cost of that one?
Off the top of my head, no, but the one for CUSI up front would be 32,950, and the annual fee would be 34,824.
So onboarding 32,000, year over year 34,000. So right at the start, we're around 70.
For year one.
Okay, we're on board. 34,000 year over year. The one thing I was gonna say too, I didn't know, is your top 5 list there? Are they in
Yes.
order or is that just your top 5? Is
They
FundView-
are in order, yes.
So FundView would be your number 2.
Mhm.
So you did like certain things about them.
Yes.
The only reason I'm beating a dead horse on that is the 3 examples that you give was a water district, or a utility district, water, whatever SWC is, and then a city.
Mhm.
2 of those don't ever have to deal with integrations, like the utility district and the SWC. I'm sure they're dealing mostly with the utility side of something. They're not dealing with permitting, they're not dealing with municipal court, they're not dealing with the financial aspect of it. So the integration side wouldn't have been beneficial to those ones. So when they were giving you their reference, they're probably looking at it different from a city side. Because I didn't know any of these companies, and the only one I saw in Texas is FundView. If I'm not crazy, Lubbock, Texas.
Could be.
So the reason I say Lubbock on that would be, I wonder if it would be easier. Sometimes when you go in Texas, they're gonna be more situated with the law, the legality of any utility changes or any city changes that occur within, if we're hiring a company out of Arkansas, they may not know they're dealing with things outside of that. It may make sense to go with the Texas company, it may not. The last question I was gonna say back on this, just talking about interactions is, when we choose a company like CUSI, right from the start, we would never come back in and theoretically choose the financial software for FundView. I think, because there may be a better product than that, than FundView. FundView may be good at integrating, but it's not going to be the best utility software. It's not going to be the best financial software. It's not going to be the best municipal court software. So I'd ask Megan, when you're dealing with right now interactions between software, between your utility department, your finance department, your municipal court, your permitting, all those people, is there any friction to the process because they're not on the same software? Because when we make a decision right here for something like CUSI, then when Carmen tells me that FundView's number 2 on the list, then I think she's not, against looking at other options. For number 1, it's absolutely CUSI. But when we come in and we look at the integrations on the side, we're making a decision right now to either integrate software or not integrate software. So I guess my question for you is, knowing that you have your departments and the workflow between those departments, how important is integration?
I think it's important, but at the same time, we do have procedures in place. It would restructure the departments. I could foresee not needing as many employees within a department.
By integrating?
Mhm.
Would it, and as far as cross-training, I wonder if that would affect cross-training at all, because now you're looking at the same UI and stuff.
Well, you'd be removing a lot of the financial side. You wouldn't need as many employees because what she's putting in would automatically go into the finance, what permitting is putting in with the courts are automatically going into the finance. So you don't need as many finance people.
So it could free up labor for where you need it possible. Because we always have
Downside
issues
part.
getting good people and keeping good people. We want to keep all the good people.
Right.
I guess that's just where my mind goes, Carmen, is how important is, when you're thinking about it and brainstorming, how important would integration be to you? Because you interact with the finance department the same, you know,
Mhm.
whether you're taking a file and you're checking it with paper or whatever else like that. That's where my mind goes.
No, that was actually a great question. You know, us, we can be a little selfish, especially when we're looking for software. We understand that finance also needs a new software. But we were, in a sense, a little selfish as to what would benefit us. So I think that was a great question that also, you know, it doesn't only affect us, but it also affects other departments.
Do we know, Megan, one last question, how old is the software that we use for code enforcement, municipal court and permitting?
So municipal court is on Hill Country.
Hmm.
And then permitting is not on a current software. It's been kind of a back and forth. I know that they've looked into it in the past. I know when we mentioned a couple like the STR, it was, do we need it, do we not?
Permitting is not on a software. And code enforcement,
No, it's the same department.
not on a software. And finance, are they Hill Country?
Yes,
So right now, Muni Court and finance are on the same software?
yes, but they don't integrate.
They don't integrate, okay. I think that was everything I was wondering.
Okay.
And CUSI does write APIs for financial integration software.
Mhm.
Yeah, so my sense is whatever we sort out on the financial side and we're moving from Hill Country, getting an API should not be a big issue.
And that would be one of the questions with any software we got to is, you know, can you meet these integrations?
That would free up your labor the same way. if you
That's
API.
exactly it, yeah. Got the APIs and it goes back and forth, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, thank you, Carmen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Carmen.
So I'm like, so what's next? On this, we just had a great discussion. Now what happens?
So the next step would be to come to the council to approve a recommended software. So that we did put money aside in this year's budget. To start that transition to going into a new software. And then automatically start looking at a financial software. The financial software wouldn't come into this components,
Yeah, because we, how much did we set aside this year?
50,000.
Okay, so we've got the money to go do it. Okay.
That's 50,000 in addition to what we've already paid.
Yes, yeah, okay.
Good.
And then you're gonna get cost savings out of eventually integration, which won't occur until next fiscal year for full implementation.
For finance, so that there's time to, because there's some of them that they just. It's, you get it all or you don't get anything.
Yeah, yep. Okay.
And there was several that we actually saw at the TML conference,
Hmm.
that have different groups. And there's mixed reviews and just in the finance discussions, I know at the last TML meeting, some people really like the new MyGov. And they're not fans of FundView, or they really like Tyler Technologies. The downside with Tyler Technologies, it's a Cadillac software. But after this last conference I went to in December, everyone agrees their customer service is the worst.
All right. And with that, we're going to take a 5-minute break. All right, moving to information and discussion items A and B.
We're not.
Okay.
The master recorder is attorney.
Yes.
Okay, so we're moving on to information items A and B, which have been combined because they are basically the same. Councilmember Stevens.
Thanks, Mayor. Hey, I just want to have a relatively quick discussion with us about our boards and commissions. They're valuable to us. We have residents who volunteer. But boards and commissions, with the exception of the building and standards, which is a judicial body, is not allowed to take any action. They come with recommendations to us and we make the decisions. My observation has been that too many times there's actions that they would need to take before it comes to us. But if a board or commission doesn't have a quorum, they can't take action and they cannot make a recommendation to us. It happened the last planning and zoning meeting, where there are some thoughts. We've been working back and forth about some potential zoning changes. Couldn't talk about it, couldn't take any action, nothing came out of it. And so, again, I'm all in favor of having boards and commissions, but I do think we may want to consider reducing some of the formalities associated with them. And rather than make them quote unquote formal meetings, we set up a process where if they don't have quorum, they can continue on with the workshop and still be able to make recommendations to us so that we, the ultimate ones who have to make a decision, can make a decision. And so I just wanted to kind of get that thought on the table. I've not done a lot of work to look and say how we would change the ordinance, because it would require a number of ordinance changes, which is how all of our boards and commissions are embodied. It would not change membership. All it would change is the ability of them to meet. If they get a quorum, great. If they don't get a quorum, they can still go through an agenda and come back to us with a recommendation. So
Okay.
that's the thought.
Thank you,
That's-
Councilmember Stevens. I think that's actually an excellent idea. I do want to ask Megan and Gio, we know that building and standards has to require the quorum based on TOMA, correct?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
What about P and Z?
So that was mentioned by Gio, and I did follow up with Cynthia as well to give her a heads up to see. But I do believe our planning and zoning does have to fall under that as well. And Cynthia, I know I didn't give you much time. I've been knocking out these emails as fast as possible.
No worries. Yes, so your Planning and Zoning Commission is going to be controlled by Local Government Code Chapter 211, and they are required to meet under TOMA.
So can I ask a question? Meeting under TOMA says you've got to have an agenda. It's got to be published in advance. Does it also require they have to have quorum?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man, because
Yes.
it's our biggest one and people don't show up. So any others besides P and Z?
No, sir. Those were the only two that are required by statute to have and meet in a regularly posted TOMA type meeting, which was your building and standards and your planning and zoning. The rest of those boards and commissions, it is up to y'all to establish local control on, will they act as a commission or a committee without a TOMA requirement? You know, changing whatever that needs to change and look like to make it work for y'all. The only thing, the only caveat that I am going to put on that is that there are several AG rulings out there that say if you have established a certain procedure wherein these boards, commissions meet under TOMA, you know, any change can look, quote, suspicious. However, to the extent that it's all established by ordinance and council would go through that same process to change that via ordinance, y'all can meet those requirements of those AG opinions. My only recommendation would be that at some point, you know, before y'all actually get to the actual trigger point where we're going to adopt that ordinance, that y'all do have some form of public hearing, just to be extra cautious that we've put everybody on notice via public hearing to have some input on making those changes.
No,
And with
no,
that
So Cynthia, you're talking as far as transparency,
Right.
that's why it may look suspicious.
well,
Right.
I get that. I mean, frankly, what it puts us in a position is if we don't go to workshops, then in some cases we do it with boards and commissions. It's what happened to the Airport Advisory Board, gone. We do the same with parks. We do the same with, our animal control, which I don't think is a wise thing to do. But I just struggle with, we're not getting business done in this city for lack of quorum. And that to me is a travesty for our residents, particularly when people want to make recommendations, changes or whatever,
No, okay.
nothing happens. So what are the other solutions? And I get the AGs relative to planning and zoning. Can we appoint more members on planning and zoning and change the quorum requirements?
So what I would. That is a little bit difficult to think of right off the top of my head, but frequently, what folks do, or I've seen other places do, you appoint your, alternate members so that those members, you just go through that process. We know that, commissioners 1, 2, are not going to be there. They're going to bust our quorum, but we also know that we have a pool of alternates. They don't want to serve on a regular capacity, but they're happy to jump in, and pick something. That is one way. As far as, let me double check if there's an actual requirement of the number of persons on your P and Z. That is the one thing I did note, when reviewing, y'all's boards and commissions. You all start out from the standing of very large boards and commissions, for your committees, and that can be difficult for a city your size. But hang on one second, let me pull the government code right quick, because all of a sudden I cannot recall, is there an actual requirement? I know that the Board of Adjustment requires 5, but I don't know that that's a requirement for P and Z. We will find out.
Yeah, while she's looking it up, because P and Z is a specialized issue because controlled by the AG. I'm happy to work with Gio and Megan to come back with some recommendations to council about what it might look like, run it past Cynthia, and then we'll figure out what we go through. But it just, my frustration is when people says, hey, I want to get something worked, I can't, because we can't get anyone to meet, can't get a quorum. And I've talked since the Parks and Recs Board actually is the Ward 5 representative. I did talk with the chair there, and he says, wouldn't make any difference if we had a quorum or not. We can still put our work together and come before council with the recommendations, whether it's a workshop or it's a regular meeting. So.
And on the actual Planning and Zoning Commission, there is no statutory requirement as to the minimum number of members. So, as long as it's, an odd number, to avoid ties, in a vote or a recommendation, y'all could, make any changes y'all needed to that commission to meet and work with what you have.
Okay, so that may be another stretch. I know, Mayor, you're the one that works P and Z. There's what, 7 members, 5 regulars plus 2 at large. So that'd be 7. If we were consider changing it to say 5 members plus 2 alternates, that says quorum's 3. Now you got a couple alternates that can pop in. Now we can maintain quorum. That would meet the statute requirements. So, okay.
We
Well, that works
appreciate
for
it.
you all. I'll happy to work with Gio, Megan and Cynthia on that and come back with some recommendations.
Sounds great. Please do that.
Novel idea, if it was, and I could be wrong, but if it was an even number, so if it was 8, would that mean it'd have to be 4 or 5?
So you gotta be 5.
Would it
Well,
have to be 5?
yeah,
Is the
Yeah.
majority?
yeah,
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so
I was just
I'd
saying
go
if
off.
that would help the quorum actually,
Yeah.
if it was even,
Right.
if for some weird reason, but,
no,
yeah.
I thought about what you were saying, but then I thought, no, it's gonna be like that.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all I had. Thank you. Good.
Thank
I have
you.
one question. So are we, that kind of solves the issue on the P and Z. Do we have an opinion on going to workshops for the other ones? Or HOT and parks and all those?
So, my opinion is we ought to go to workshops, but, why don't I take a couple cracks at it in terms of some options and come back with some, here's an A or a B, and we all look and say, hey, we like A or we like B. And I'll try a workshop and changing the quorum discussion. Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you for
Thanks.
doing that legwork. All right, moving on to C, discussion item C, city manager.
So I received a letter in the mail from the Brewster County Appraisal District. Saying we had 45 days from the date of the letter, there's no date.
That's good. Yeah.
I was a bit surprised, but I understand that there have been some changes within the board and they've had Esther Howard and Kay Houston resign, which means that there's new position, or not new, but positions that are open. So they asked if that we would nominate to fill the expired terms up until December of 2025. So I know that Darren Nance has been working with Jake, and then he is our representative on the CAD. I wanted to have this as a discussion item first, and speaking with Jake, they're really looking for individuals who can help move the appraisal district forward, especially with all the current ongoings, the concerns, but also really understanding the growth of the district as far as their internal, employees and stuff like that. So I wanted to have it as a discussion first before making a recommendation to nominate, because we don't have to nominate. Ideally, what the letter has indicated is that you submit your nominations, and then as the board will select from the nominations from the different entities. Over the weekend, I did get some pretty upset messages from Betty Jo Rooney, who I believe has been nominated for Marathon area. I think there's some confusion. I was not aware that Marathon had nominated. They're just pending, I guess, acceptance, or if we all have to nominate her. She's the former tax assessor collector. So I wanted to bring that up as well, because she wants to, I guess Marathon really wants her to represent them. I know Darren probably has some more insight on it. I currently do not have any recommendations for this board. So I'm gonna just throw that out there. Like I said, discussion. Darren can provide more insight because he is our representative and has attended those meetings.
Councilmember Nance.
So, the latest information I have is that there's been 2 vacated seats. Esther, left the seat. And we're getting clarification on the Marathon seat that Betty Jo was, possibly sitting on, as if that term expired or if it was vacated. So we're just getting clarification on that. Really, and I think as far as I know, it would be the taxing entities can go in and nominate somebody. And we will go through those candidates, and Brewster County Appraisal District Board will choose one of those candidates for that seat for Esther Howard. They'll, that person will stay throughout the year, the 2025 year. And then I think those seats can go back up to an election. So even if, if I remained on there, the council could nominate me at that point in 2025. And then things have been done differently in the past. The way it will work now in the future is the school district, because they get the majority of the majority of property tax goes to the school district. I believe almost 50%, 25% to the county, 25% to the city. And then you got the hospital district there as well for Alpine. So when you look at that, the way the state of Texas statutorily says this is that Alpine ISD would get the most votes there. They would get 44% of the votes. So when we come back in 2025 and we redo it, we'll all nominate candidates and then vote in that regard. Different than what's happening right now. All we would do right now is if we know a candidate, we nominate a candidate, that candidate will go to the Brewster County Appraisal District Board, and the board will choose the person to fill that seat.
What are the requirements?
I think as far as I know, the requirements, because I work at the school district, the only requirement I recall, and Cynthia might be able to correct me on this if she's up to date on CAD stuff as well, is you can't work for the taxing entity that you
Represent.
represent.
That's correct.
But I work at the school and I represent the city, so you can't do that.
All right.
And we did have to get clarification on that before we even put him in that position. make sure that there wasn't a conflict of interest.
And from my perspective, a lot of good things are happening at the CAD right now in order to fix some past mistakes. So we got the right team on board right there. Just to kind of clarify a couple things real fast, there's a property value study. The state of Texas mandates that the county appraisal districts value property on January 1st at 100% market value. So the CAD's entire purpose is to find out the value of property and price that at market value. They give you a ratio value where you have to be within 95% of that to 105% of that. But you have to hit that mark. We came in at, I think, 93.5% or something this year. When we don't hit that number, then they could say that the values are artificially deflated, so the local taxing entities aren't taxing correctly on the property tax side. So the biggest purpose of the Brewster County Appraisal District right now is to get those values, the values in line with actual market values. So whoever's nominated, I think the most important thing within that nominee is kind of having the backbone to support the Brewster County Appraisal District and saying that values are undervalued and we're getting to where they need to be. Because it is a fiscal issue for the whole district as well. We don't pass PBS property values.
And you don't have anybody to recommend?
Not off the top of my head. But if the board knows anybody, then.
And I'm gonna jump in here. The only other requirement is there is a residency requirement. Obviously, you gotta live within the appraisal district that you're being nominated for.
Who do you think would be a good candidate? A real estate agent, a
Real estate agent cannot
cannot?
use MLRS data. That's the big issue. So for example, Mayor McAllister, who represents the school district, can sit on it, but she cannot bring any real estate information to the table. As I was sharing with Darren, when I was on the board, we actually hired Richard Petrie to come on board and we gave him a specific task, go get the real estate data. That's how we managed to find out what was going on in the real world and get the numbers up. I've been off it for now 3 years, so I don't know what's going on. But that was the strategy. Is there concern with Betty Jo Rooney? Because Betty Jo knows the system and
As
that'd
far
be
as
the
the
person I'd recommend.
As far as I've heard great things about her.
Yeah, I work with Betty Jo quite a bit.
If they like her, I can like her.
Yeah, she's good. She knows her stuff.
Yeah, she knows her stuff. Do you have a concern with Betty Jo?
No, it was just a shock to get the text messages yesterday. I honestly didn't know that she was on the board. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But that, that it had been brought up.
Yeah.
I know when I talked to Darren and I did talk to Jake in regards to this, do you guys have some suggestions? Is there, a specific type of person? Really just someone who's invested in helping the CAD and the community, grow as far as getting the appraisals in line, getting and understanding. I mean, that's the hard part, is understanding property tax and stuff like that, not property tax, but property appraisals. Personally, I think that's confusing to most people, without a lot of additional insight. So when Joe texted me, I honestly was like, I don't know what you're talking about. That was my response. I don't have a problem.
Well, when I was on the CAD before, I worked with her because there was a huge disconnect between the deeds that were coming in and the rate that the deeds were getting processed at the appraisal district in order to get turned over from a treasurer's standpoint to get the collections going on. And she was pushing pretty hard. So she is very knowledgeable about the system. I don't think there's any question about that. And given we're trying to fill someone right now, that'd be my point, is Betty Jo.
That is one thing within TARP here too, Targeted Appraisal Review Program, is saying that basically this is the state of Texas saying you failed PBS 3 years. This is what your appraisal district needs to do. And it's a list of findings and how to correct those. One of those is hiring somebody to actually come in and do some of those more process oriented things like front office. To free the appraisers up to go off and do appraising. That's one thing that I do not know about, but Mr. Garrett has actually said that multiple times, as far as, you guys know, like when a property is actually sold, getting that parcel information even to the city. And oftentimes when we have GIS layers or anything else like that, like if we were all sharing those GIS layers, because one thing that affects the value of a property is there gas infrastructure to it? Is there pavement to it? Is there water to it? So all these things affect the actual value of that property, and getting everyone on board to share some kind of GIS layering system or the process of deed sales or anything else like that.
Well, and he was very clear as far as that. I know when we sell property and when we get that replat or that survey in to provide them a copy, because if they use their online portal, it's off. But when you talk about the frontline support, that's one thing, you know, as we make nominations, is that they have to understand you can't keep cutting the internal budget of the CAD when you want qualified, educated people. And then you needed the additional person to manage the day-to-day operation so that they can be out in the field and they're not doing the same thing. It's a little bit. I just give him credit. It's gonna be a big task.
One thing I was gonna mention too, just as a final thing from my perspective on this is at the CAD meeting today, we talked about, you know, the TARP and the PBS and all this other kind of stuff. And Dr. Reinhardt is pushing at the state level in order to fix a lot of the issues on the CAD side towards school funding. One way that I think that from the county's perspective, and then as well as the city's perspective, would be I might work with Megan to set up a resolution. And then if council would be on board to just set a resolution to send up and basically say that we do have issues with the CAD. Small rural CADs probably have a lot of these issues because they're not funded, or other issues because you can't keep labor. Basically to say that this is an issue within small rural communities. We need fixes at the state level.
So I'm in favor of that. I would just make comment. There used to be 7 appraisers. Now there's 2. And my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, the CAD gave money back, or the appraisal district gave money back to the 7 constituents. Is that true?
That is true.
So this is where I look and say, it's not a funding issue. If they're giving money back, why aren't we spending the money?
Yeah. That was on the budget. And in my mind, and Mr. Petrie did say this today at the meeting, that we could be looking at 100 to 150,000 extra next year request in the budget, and that would be for human capital.
Yeah, but how much was given back this year?
I want to say we had that in our packet, actually. I don't have the actual agenda here. I couldn't recall.
Yeah, but ballpark, I mean, if.
I want to say maybe 75 to 100.
Yeah, see, where my reaction is, why did the CAD give back the 75,000? Should have held on to it.
I don't know if they were allowed to hold on.
Well, they
Yeah,
are.
I
We
think-
went through those processes. Having been a CAD
Part of
chair,
that was because we lost our previous chief appraiser, Mr. Herrera, over to Payton.
yeah,
So we've had, and our current one is not a appraiser. He's getting licensed for that, which is
Yeah.
why we have Petrie as
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
interim. So we've had a lot of cost savings on the labor side. Now, you're right, we could hire somebody else in order to get more appraisers in there. And we are looking at a intern or something like that, because they do have to get people in for
Yeah.
that. But at the end of that budget cycle, there was a lot of cost savings because of labor.
no, I get that, but I know the CAD budget's more than just on an annual. There's annual, but there's also what's the reserve? Because we actually did a shift from a 4 or 5 quarter, 4 quarters, changed the fiscal year timing to line up with the entities. And we had extra dollars. We worked our way through that. So anyway.
Okay. I'm gonna bring us back
Yeah.
to the discussion item, which is who we want to nominate, because we have an action item later
Yeah.
on making that nomination. And Councilmember Stevens
I'm on.
had a suggestion,
No
Okay.
second.
and we have an action item, so we'll
May I
actually go through that formal
ask a
process.
question?
Mhm.
Is this the board that hires the chief appraiser? Is that the correct
Yes,
way of
It
saying
is.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all I wanted to know. Yeah.
All right, good. All right, so we're gonna move on.
Okay with Betty Jo running for the action item. So when we get to the action.
You
item, that's
make
how
the
we-
nomination. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on to action items. Action item A, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Action item A is to approve resolution 2025-02-17, authorizing the city animal control department to participate in the Kong grant program.
I need a motion.
I move that we approve resolution 2025-02-17, authorizing the city animal control department to participate in the Kong grant program.
I need a second.
I'll second that.
All right, discussion, city manager.
So this is the first time the city of Alpine is applying for this type of grant. Kong is actually a company that does the indestructible dog toys that you can fill with treats and things like that. Jennifer's doing a great job trying to reach out to find resources to bring back within our community. And she did come across this project and asked that if we could move forward with it. And of course, we're gonna follow our grant process and procedures. So ideally, by applying for this grant, it will allow the animal control shelter to receive what they're calling enrichment toys at no cost to the city. So this is all the benefits, the added, the fun stuff of the job. There are some requirements within the grant itself. She will have to do, some reports. How does it work out? How how many did she get? How did it enrich the animals, pictures, that kind of thing? Which she is aware of and is willing to, take on that part of the grant. So we're just seeking approval. There is currently no financial, like cost to the city. And I don't have like, we're gonna get $5,000 worth of toys. It's just that we'll get some of these toys. So we're seeking city council approval. The application is provided within the packet. I do apologize. It is screenshots because it is an online application that they don't like you to control key on. I don't want you to print it.
Yeah.
So she sent me the screenshots for each one.
Great, thank you.
Mine showed up like teeny tiny, so I'm glad it's going on.
Yeah.
I tried to download it into like a PDF, but
Nice. Councilmember Escobedo,
I'm all for it.
Councilmember Stone, Councilmember Stevens,
I'm good.
Councilmember Nance.
Only question I had, I think you answered it. This is the first time we've sought it and received it.
well, we haven't received it, but this is the first time we're actually going to go out for it.
Okay, perfect.
Excellent. Let's vote.
Aye.
Aye, go Kong.
All right, City Secretary Council unanimously approved resolution 2025-02-17. Remember, Councilmember Martinez is absent due to illness. All right, moving on to action item B, Councilmember Stevens.
Thanks very much, Mayor. You have a resolution in your packet that talks about supporting Brewster County going for grant funding for the Community Wildfire Defense Grant through the U.S. Forest Service and the United States Department of Agricultural Community Wildfire Defense Program.
Okay, I need a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution of the board.
I need a second.
Second.
All right, Councilmember Stevens,
So
please
thanks very
continue.
much. So the resolution is relatively straightforward. The county is applying for the grant. We have no action to take, but it will support not only what goes on across all of Brewster County, but also the city of Alpine should we run into a life-threatening issue. And in my mind, it's a simple thing to go do. OPM, other people's money, let's take it, use it, and let the county go get it.
Amen. Councilmember Nance,
No comments.
Councilmember Stone,
Good idea.
Councilmember Escobedo,
I agree with this.
let's vote.
Aye.
Aye.
City Secretary Council unanimously approved 2025-02-18, a resolution to support the application for funding for the Brewster County for grant funding and the selection and development and completion of a community wildfire defense grant. Moving on to action item C, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Action item C is to approve the nomination of members to the Brewster County Appraisal District Board.
I need a motion.
So Mayor, I move that the city of Alpine nominate Betty Jo Rooney to be a member of the Brewster County Appraisal District Board.
I need a second.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Does she live in the area of the?
She's in Brewster County, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the only requirement, great. No comments.
Okay, let's vote.
Aye.
Aye.
City Secretary, Council unanimously approved Betty Jo Rooney to be our nomination for the member to the Brewster County Appraisal District. Okay, moving on to executive reports, 6 minutes on the clock. The only thing I want to reiterate is that we have an election coming up. Ward 3, there was only one person who put their hat in the ring, and that was Rob Ruckus. And he will be the Councilmember 3 ward representative. And then for council member Ward 1, we have 3, Andy Ramos, Rich Portillo, and Austin Smith. Make sure you guys are registered to vote. Go to the City of Alpine website and you can check to see what your status is as far as being registered. And if you are not, be sure to go in and do that so that you can vote in the, what is it, May 3rd? May 3rd election here at City Hall. I know there have been some questions. It's here at City Hall is where you vote. All right, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. I mentioned earlier in the community interest that we have 25 adoption fee as of right now. I know that the fees are set by resolution, but we are attempting to reduce the number of dogs in the shelter to allow for the completion of some building maintenance. This has been a CIB project for 2 years, but due to the capacity, we haven't been able to complete it. So in speaking with Jennifer and trying to, look at all of her capital improvement projects, I really wanted to push to get this one completed because we've budgeted for 2 years. And so this will require us to reduce the number of animals within the shelter so that we can go in and we can, clean up the kennels, get the painting, the repairs to the walls that are necessary, and still, have the space available. I had mentioned to the city council, about the budgeting issues with the loader. And looking at our available options, instead of trying to, do an amendment for the budget, I have been working with government capital in regards to their equipment purchase program or equipment lease purchase program, where it allows us to purchase the heavy equipment, but then have the payments throughout 3 to 5 years, however we want to set it up. She has gotten a quote back for me on a 3 and a 5 year comparison. This will also help with our cash flow. Instead of 200,000, actually I think it's 210,000 year one. It allows us to expand that over 3 to 5 years. So I'll be forwarding that information to y'all to review, so that we can have some discussion on that. But that will also come into play when we're looking at other heavy equipment. Instead of, like I said, trying to come up with the cash all at once, we'll look at our cash flow. I know that the zipper is going to be something that we've wanted to look at as well. We do have our demo coming up on March 11th. They have requested it in their presentation to council, that type of equipment. So I think that's another opportunity we'll have for a lease payment program. The wastewater treatment plant. The project is actually coming along nicely. We do have a setback. We were supposed to have a meeting this week to go over some of the electrical conversations, concerns, issues, plan that has been postponed with the weather and people having to come in from different areas. We wanted, safety is a priority. So we are moving that meeting to the following week. Other than that, I mentioned last meeting, the drying beds are, 2 of them are done. They're moving to the next ones. And of course, we're getting the fabricated clarifier in place. I do have a workshop scheduled for April 15th with the city council. Hotchkiss, our group that is our insurance broker, will be presenting. We're going to have discussion on employee insurance to include health, vision, dental, and our HRA options. I know in some of our conversations, we've talked about HRA versus HSA. Do they contribute? Do they not contribute? What are our options? I have provided them a copy of the school district's current benefits book that was provided by the school district. And based on some of the conversation, we have a much richer plan than the school district. So I just kind of want to throw that out there.
Still have dental.
We provide a lot of benefits, and we also cover 50% of dependents. So that's a big thing for our employees. The other thing is the STR software with Deckard. We did get the email this morning bright and early that it is ready to go live. We are excited to get that moving forward. Gio and his crew have been working on that. We did pay for the campaign as well, where they'll send out the notification. So moving forward, that permitting process will be done online. Payments can be done online. They can pay their hot taxes online. Another benefit, as we've talked about in the past, providing them that access.
Great, thank you. All right, moving on to council member comments. 1 minute on the clock. Councilmember Stevens.
Nothing additional to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Escobedo. Councilmember Nance.
No comments.
Councilmember Stone.
Be very brief. I was gonna just give this to our city manager, but if you want to track bills with the Texas legislature, you can go to capital with an o.texas.gov, and at the top left, there's a MyTLO. You can create a login there, and you can actually track bills. And I'll send it to you, Megan, no worries. But you can track bills through the ledge. Folks, I'll be my quick update. SB2 is the however you look at it, school choice or voucher scam. That's both sides of the coin there. That has passed the Senate, and it's going on to the House right now. And they just got their committees together in the House, so we're going to start seeing some movement on that and other bills, including our own two, which I am now putting trackers in right now. So everybody can track the ledge if you want to.
Thank you. And city manager, can you forward that email to all of us when you get it? That website. Thank you. All right, and with that, we are adjourned.
Oh my God.
Literally was gonna say